Hot off last season's bubble bath where every team had to share the tub, life had to start to get a little bit normal in the NBA. And by normal, we mean an NBA season that was anything but normal. But hey, we were fresh off a very uncertain 2020. Back when you didn't know much about this ongoing global health crisis and you were spraying your groceries with Lysol and buying all the toilet paper, leaving your neighbors with nothing. But the time was right for a new season. As the death toll was spiking during the holidays, the NBA said, "Want to play some ball?" And play ball they did. The 2020-2021 NBA season showed up late to the party, but it still showed out. What's happening, viewers of the YouTube machine, and welcome to Dan on Sports. Today we're going to recap the regular season by discussing the 10 biggest storylines in no particular order. Number 1. One hell of a short off season. Because of the late season foray in the bubble, of course that meant a late start to the 2020-2021 season. It was so late that there was barely any 2020 in it, and we ended up starting in late December. And that meant a shorter season, 72 games. And that meant you couldn't afford to have a bad start, or it'd be too catastrophic to come back from, unless of course you're the Wizards, Knicks, or the Hawks, and I guess you could put the Warriors in that too. Every game meant a lot more. Bad week could lead to an early fishing trip. The season would start with empty arenas, but we'd have packed houses by playoff time. Number 2. Fat James Harden. James Harden wanted out of Houston, and he was going to get out no matter what. James was willing to eat his way out of Houston, and he showed up severely out of shape. Many people gained weight during the pandemic, but bruh, it was a short off season. And I'm not one to body shame. You have to be in tip-top shape to play a game against elite athletes. You just have to be. Harden had the look of a guy who was 10 years into a marriage and ready to let it all go. But that's not where it ends. He was magically in better shape when he was on the Nets, leading to rumors of a fat suit. Was it a fat suit? Or just a fat dude? You decide. Number 3. Injuries. Lots and lots of injuries. This was a shorter season, but it's also more condensed and concentrated, which means, you guessed it, people got hurt. The Celtics lost Kemba Walker early and Jaylen Brown late. Sixers had to weather the storm without Joel Embiid for a while. Jamal Murray's injury doesn't only affect this season, but might have some implications into next season. Oladipo was a big loss for the Heat. The Nets rarely had their big three together during the regular season. You can have high hopes for the regular season and then boom, the injury bug bites you in the ass. Just look at the defending champs. The Lakers went from top 3 in the West to having to compete in a play-in game, which leads to number 4. The Lakers drop off the face of the earth. Yep, the Lakers went from top 10 to not mentioned at all. Your boy LeBron went from, well, that play-in tournament is good for the game, to, man, whoever came up with this needs to be fired. Crying and whining aside, it's been a rough few months for the Lakers. And it's a battle for survival, or at this point, survival horror. They are getting healthy at the right time, but their path to the finals won't be a walk in the park. It'll be more like the Warriors trying to get back to Coney Island. The gang, not the Golden State team. Number 5. More trades than the GameStop shorts you missed out on. Lots of moves this year as teams tried to either unload or load up for a run. Drummond went to the Lakers. Westbrook went to the Wizards and made them a legit playoff team, even though his playoff success is kinda meh. But who am I to judge? Dan, that's who. But anyway, the Bucks getting Drew Holiday was huge. Makes them a team you could trust a little bit more in the postseason. I mean, there's some jobs on the line here. Have to do something, like make a splash. They gotta show improvement. Derrick Rose gives the Knicks a spark off the bench. Actually gets starter minutes some nights. And of course, Fat Harden. He's not really fat, but to the Nets. And as he was magically losing that weight, the Nets were gaining, which leads to number 6. The Nets gobbling up everyone. Question. How super can a super team get? Let's go over some brief history. LeBron and Wade got together to win not 1, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 2 rings. Steph and Clay recruited Kevin Durant, and they got 2. Might have been 3 if Durant didn't hurt his Achilles. LeBron hooked up with Kyrie and Kevin Love for 1, and with Anthony Davis for another. Jeez, not slut shaming, but what a slut. Super teams be damned. But the Nets said, "Oh my Brooklyn Brood IPA." They weren't happy with just trading for Harden to pair with Durant and Uncle Drew. They landed Blake Griffin, who, although is a shell of his former self, just needs to be a shell with the star power they have. LaMarcus Aldridge was a major pickup, and he was supposed to be part of a roster that was built to smash the league. But number 7, Aldridge retires. LaMarcus Aldridge had to retire following a regular heartbeat. Though he wasn't the player he once was, he was still a 7-time All-Star and would have been a perfect fit for the Nets. Shoot, I would have been a perfect fit with the Nets. They can suit up a few mannequins and still be a top seed, especially in the East. I honestly wish him the best and hope everything works out though. Health and safety is the top priority, and the heart is nothing to play with. Or so I've heard in every Taylor Swift song. Not that I listen to any Taylor Swift song. Man, shut the Number 8. Team turnarounds and renaissances. Part of what makes this season special is all the fresh new teams finding success. Previously bad teams making sudden turnarounds. Look at the Hawks, who had a play-in date in their future, if even that, until they fired Lloyd Pierce. Dave McMillan took over and they climbed to a 4-5 matchup. The Knicks were the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. Or the Browns were the New York Knicks of the NFL. It's probably no coincidence that both teams have discovered themselves around the same time and are now gaining success. But any coach that can get the Knicks into the playoffs should be Coach of the Year by default. The Jazz and the Suns aren't as dramatic as other teams, but admit it, you had the Lakers, Clippers, and Nuggets as the top 3 in the West. The Wizards pretty much flatlined months ago, only to have a faint pulse and find themselves in the playoffs. Started with a 17-32 record, they finished 17-6, and won their way into the 8th seed. Part of that was because of number 9, Westbrook's triple-double record. Records are made to be broken, and with his 182nd career triple-double, Russell Westbrook broke Oscar Robertson's 47-year-old NBA record. Say what you want about the guy, but to break a record that old is something special. Now his critics will say that he's more into chasing stats than winning games. And that's me, I'm critics. But let's be honest, do we ever think that anyone would get remotely close to the Big O's record? To be able to accumulate that many points, and that many assists, and that many rebounds is a remarkable feat. And number 10, Steph Curry's monster season. Steph averaged 32 points per game this year and had 11 straight 30-point games. What can be said about the run Steph had this year? I mean, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can define how Steph be dropping threes. What Curry can do on the court is next level. I mean, dude is a human Konami code of the NBA. He plays ball the way you never want to teach a kid to play. But he's good enough to make those shots. Crossover, step back from 30 feet out, that ain't going. Oh, it went in. Although the season didn't end well for them, a healthy Klay Thompson will be back and help turn this team into a problem next year. Oh yeah, forgot to mention Klay in my injury section. Anyway, look out for the Warriors next season. The Golden State basketball team, not the gang from Coney Island. And that's your list. If you consider any other regular season moment to be a bigger story, please feel free to speak your mind in the comments. Don't yell at me. I'll be recapping each round of the playoffs and previewing the subsequent rounds with some analysis and predictions. Feel free to agree or disagree. But for now, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow my Twitter and Instagram where I'll share more channel updates. They're both posted on the screen. Check out my other channel, Real Talk Dan, which is actually my first channel if you'd like a break from sports talk. Till next time, you're dismissed. Peace.